There is a very big difference between trying to get enough evidence for a criminal charge, president or not, and making a political determination on Capitol Hill.
So we have a lot of questions that are not answered in this letter.
In this summary from Barr tonight, the clear outlines of a new fight from Donald Trump's handpicked attorney general. The other key thing to know is that these 4 pages that Barr wrote, they don't have a single full sentence quoting the Mueller report at all.
Politically, the toothpaste is already out of the tube, as they say.
Yeah.
So, you know, this isn't getting resolved in this country until November 2020.
All political. Let's bring in Jay Sekulow, Chief Counsel, American Center for Law and Justice, member of President Trump's legal team. He's smiling because he had a good day yesterday. Jay, good morning to you.
Good morning.
Good morning. Thanks, team.
Okay, so not a zero, zip, zilch evidence of Russia collusion. The president has been telling us that for 2 years, and yesterday the attorney general made it clear that that was the finding of Mr. Mueller.
That's correct. So the entire basis upon which this counterintelligence investigation began, which was allegations over Russian interference and collusion with the Trump campaign and people associated with the Trump campaign, Bob Mueller concluded after issuing, and I like to give these numbers, 2,800 subpoenas, 500 search warrants, 230 orders for communications, 50 orders authorizing use of pen registers, 13 requests to foreign governments for evidence, and 500 witness interviews, that there was, as the president has said from the outset, no collusion.
That was smart of them to include that because it showed the American people how thorough this was and why it took 2 years. Yesterday, my family, we were watching, and we started with Fox, and then we wanted to flip around to see how the other stations
You were watching
covering
the game, too.
And the game. That was a little bit later, the Duke game. But we saw you on several different channels. You were on MS and NBC. You were on GMA. And you were saying that this took 2 years, time away from the things that are really important and really matter. How do the American people react to this? Because it was a lot of money, tax dollar money, and 2 years away from things that people went to the polls to vote on this president for.
Look, I think the American people are resilient, and I think what we have now is a concluded investigation. There was no obstruction. There was no collusion. The fact that I gave you the statistics about the scope and nature of this investigation, Congress has got these investigations going now on the same exact topics, except they don't have the resources or the capabilities or, frankly, the jurisdiction to get the kind of information that special counsel got. So instead of wasting money and time, and more importantly, I think, as important as time, let's focus on things for the American people. The president said he's in favor of comprehensive immigration reform. Let's get it. There's a lot of things that can be done to advance our country over the next several years. Let's start governing again. And I think that would be best for the American people.
William Barr said he's going to go through it. He's going to take out the grand jury testimony. He's going to redact the intelligence things. Are you in support, Jay, of releasing what he can? And what do you expect to happen after that? Because I imagine they'll have things about the Trump Tower meeting. They're going to have things about the would-be Moscow Tower. And it could reinvigorate all this debate again.
Look, my view is straightforward. I think the Attorney General, pursuant to the regulations, has the authority to issue what he thinks is the appropriate aspects of this report. He is doing that. And in that regard, and I think this is important to understand, he is not going to disclose 6E material. That if you did that, that could be a criminal act if you disclose grand jury material. National security material should not be disclosed. People that were exonerated should not be put in a spotlight. That would be wrong. That was what James Comey did. That was so wrong. So look, the Attorney General said he's in favor of as much transparency as he can under the law and regulations. He's going to do that, and I think it's going to move expeditiously.
Well, we had your co-counsel, Rudy Giuliani, with us about a half an hour ago. And when we asked him about whether he felt that this, whether somebody conned the FBI, this is from the Wall Street Journal, conned the FBI into one of the great dirty tricks in American political history, he said yes. And he felt that there was somebody who essentially invented this to destroy Donald Trump. Do you feel that way?
Yeah, I think, look, this whole thing starts with the Clifford, the dossier, the Steele dossier, right? And James Comey calls it salacious and unverified. Meanwhile, they started counterintelligence action on that, and then you got these FISA warrants. And the people that the FISA warrants against are brought up on no charges as far as it relates to Carter Page. And I think what this shows, after a 2-year extensive investigation, what the president said at the outset was correct. There was no collusion, there was no obstruction, and we need to move on.
All right. Jay Sekulow, thanks so much. We'll be talking to you again.
Yep. Thank you, Jay.
Thank you.